Oh, the struggle is real. Why aren't you focusing? After the past several videos, you might be tired of me talking about how much I love gouache paints. So today, we're going to talk about them even more. See, I've found myself working on two projects more or less at the same time. One with my undead Astra Militarum, the Guard, and the other with my Tyranids. And they're both centered around sort of the two things I like the most with gouache paints. Now I say that it's two different things about the paints that I like, but really it's the same thing, utilizing that reactivation that gouache paints have, but leveraging it in very different ways. And the first way that's been showcased on this channel a lot. In fact, I really made a couple of people big angry with the last video saying that it's the easiest way to paint miniatures. Which I'm doubling down on because I really think it is the easiest way to come up with pretty interesting looking miniatures. Or at least it's the easiest way for me right now. But I'm not saying it's the only way, obviously. I've got more than 100 videos saying you don't need to listen to anyone on the internet, including myself. Do what you think works best. I'm just showcasing things that I come across in my hobby time. Anyways, all I do is much like an oil wash. I just kind of base coat everything with just single solid colors, or mostly solid colors. I don't care if there's spots that are more transparent than others. I think it adds to the overall end point. And then I just take this gouache paint, I water it down into a wash and slop it all over the mini. And then just let it dry. And once it's dry, we just take our beauty blender, some sort of sponge, get it a bit damp, and just dab off that gouache. And if you're thinking that's the exact same process as oil washes, you're right, it is. It's also basically just a base coat, highlight, wash, but most importantly, it's a way that I enjoy doing, and I feel like I get more control over that end result. So in just a few minutes, we can have some tabletop ready minis that are ready to go. Of course, you can definitely, I just put my hand into the paint. You can definitely add some more highlights to these to make them pop a little bit more, which I'll definitely do. But first, let's paint some more Undead Guard. One of the things that I loved about oil paints when I first started with them is that I could ignore a lot of details. It just unlocked some sort of freedom in my head. I don't know, I gave myself some permission to just do things really sloppy. Or at least sloppier than I had been doing previously. And that's what I really like with gouache paints. It gives me that same sort of feel. Painting with purely gouache paints, I'll start with a solid coat of one of the colors. In this case, for these guys, I'm using this rose, which is really just a base magenta. And I'm not putting this on particularly thick. It's a lot more like if you covered a white undercoated Mini with some sort of contrast color or speed paint. And then I'll run through several of them at a time just to get them to the same sort of base coated, underpainted stage. On these Tyranids, I use that reactivity of gouache paints to use a little bit of water to remove it from the areas that I don't necessarily want it, to some degree. In some areas there's a little bit, in some areas there's none, but we use that reactivity to do that. Now in these guys, I'm using that reactivity to sort of mix all of the layers together. The more I dilute the next layer of gouache paints, the more it'll mix in with whatever is below it. Which means that just using a single color, we can get a bunch of variety of tones without having to mix a bunch on the palette. Basically, we can create all of those different tones on the model itself. And obviously all my painting with acrylic paints, with regular acrylic paints, is with my sketchy little lines. And I kind of do the same thing with these gouache paints. And I initially did that with acrylic paints because I wanted to see the humanity. I wanted to see those brush strokes, and it creates a nice texture. But now with these gouache paints, I do the same thing, and it kind of tears up everything that's below it in terms of the paint, and makes a even more enjoyable texture. At least I like it. For me, these paints are really the perfect example of why I should just try things. Traditional painting thinking or advice would be not to overwork any particular area. Let stuff totally dry and then go back to it and paint over it. Versus continuing to paint over and over this stuff kind of tears it apart in a much more pleasing way that I really enjoy. Well, now that our Technicolor Dreamcoat Undead Krieg have paint slapped across them, let's add some quick highlights to these nids. When I do this process, I don't worry about any reactivation that might happen with any remaining gouache that's on each area that I'm painting. For the most part, I'm just applying these quick lines over top of areas where all the gouache has been removed. And in any kind of recessed area that still has some gouache that I might go over with a new paint, I don't really care if it reactivates. Now, if that's something you're concerned about, you could always just hose it down with whatever varnish you normally use, and then go back over it with more highlights. Well, there we go, my 2 favorite ways to use gouache paints, at least right now. In fact, the gouache only process is really my current favorite way to paint. Although that could change, tomorrow. Importantly though, we've got 2 more units for the Bugs Army and another unit done for my Undead Guard. And I think they look pretty good. Most importantly though, thank you so much for watching. You are awesome. And I'll see you soon.